Welcome back everybody to another MOTOBOB video from EICMA 2025, and we've just dropped by at BSA for a bike that me and Tim got a bit of a difference of opinion on, because I think this looks really good. Tim's not quite so sure, but it's the new adventure bike. It's the first ever, they say, BSA adventure bike, and they've actually revived the name from the past of the BSA lineup, for it's called the Thunderbolt. I think this could be a great little looking, budget-friendly adventure bike, and so in this video we'll go through all of the details with everything that you need to know about it. Now, Tim's actually ridden as well the BSA Bantam 350, which I've yet to yet. I was on holiday, you covered that one for us. Was it good? Very good apparently, and one of the factors was actually this new 334cc liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine that makes 30 horsepower at 8,000 RPM and 30 newton meters of peak torque. So it's the same engine in this bike, I believe, or it looks to be the same engine, perhaps with slightly different cases here to give it a more angular aesthetic. And at 30 horsepower, well, it's kind of between a few markets there. It's more powerful than an air-cooled Royal Enfield Himalayan, for example, down at about 20. 20 for me on a full-size adventure bike is not enough, and so I'd say this would be far preferable, but it's not quite as much as some of the 400s and 450s like the Himalayan 450, which is also liquid cooled, or the new BMW F450 GS, or the KTM 390. A lot of those bikes make 40 horsepower, 40 newton meters and beyond. And so like I say, this will fit somewhere in the middle. It's not one for the adrenaline junkie, but it should offer a bit more pep than the lowly Himalayan 411. Plus, you got to say, realistically, a little engine like that is going to be pretty decent on fuel. And while they haven't released any official consumption figures, well, at a 15.5 litre tank, you've got to expect it'll be somewhere up around 450 kilometers, which is equivalent to about 250 or 280 miles. Now, it's not realistically a GS-style globetrotter, but if you do want something budget-friendly that can do a bit of everything, a bit of off-roading, a bit of commuting, a little bit of light touring, and they have put some soft luggage on it, then this could be a good option in 2026. Now, before we get on to the next bit of the bike, I just want to say a massive thanks to Kalimoto for supporting the channel and making all this EICMA coverage possible. We've got 25-year memberships to give away here at EICMA, so if you do come to the show, try and find us, and we'll try and make sure we got one left to give you. But also, if you're back home, you can take advantage of a 10% discount code, which you'll find down in the description below. Kalimoto's a fantastic motorcycle-specific navigation app that uses an algorithm they've built to find the best possible twisty roads, so you don't have to ride the boring straight ones, and you can specifically find routes that are specifically good for motorcycling. So once again, a massive thanks to Kalimoto for their support, and with that, let's have a little look at the chassis. Now, I've got to say, although I do like the aesthetics, one of the reasons I like it, and maybe this will help to change Tim's mind, is that I feel like they've gone in on the off-roadiness. They could have maybe cheaped out a bit or done a kind of visual adventure bike without really changing the spec versus the Bantam. In fact, it doesn't really have that many similarities with the Bantam, because even though it is a tubular steel frame, the swing arm looks different because this has got a monoshock for more travel, I guess, versus the twin shocks on the Bantam. They've massively jacked it up at the front. You've got a nice long fork there. It's an upside down fork as well. And it's got the spoke wheels, the 21-incher at the front, the 17 at the rear. They've got these semi-knobbly Dunlops on as well. And so I think it looks like it could be quite capable. In fact, I think I read that it's got 200 mil of travel at the front, 180 mil at the rear. And so that's quite competitive with even some of the larger, more expensive adventure bikes on the market. Plus, they've given it a radial 4-pot brake caliper up front, so it looks like braking is upgraded as well. And so I'd definitely like to take one of these for a spin next year and see how it does perform, both out on the road and also on some trails. As for weight, they've said 185 kilograms dry, so I'd expect with that 15-litre tank full, plus the oil on board, maybe 205 or something like that. Not too bad. Not super light like the F450 GS or the 390 Adventure. They're more around the 177, 178 mark if they're fully fueled up. But still, it's less than a big adventure bike, and so that might add to the appeal of anyone looking for something accessible and not too intimidating. I guess another factor that plays into that approachability is the seat height, which comes in at 815 millimeters. And otherwise it looks quite tall in the handlebars, so you'll be nice and sat up. Hopefully a decent transition between sitting and standing, and it's also got grippy off-road friendly foot pegs to make sure you get plenty of purchase even if you're muddy or wet on the boots. The only thing I will say is, having ridden other adventure bikes with that low-ish seat height, like the CF Moto 450 MT, similar-ish bike to this, it does feel a little low in the seat versus the rest of the rider triangle. So the bars are high, the pegs, there's not that much space down to the pegs, and so it's a bit of a trade-off for designing a bike that doesn't feel too tall when you try and climb on it. But yeah, I felt a bit squatted down and cramped in the legs because they kept the seat low, but the rest of the rider triangle was more off-roady and adventure friendly. Maybe BSA have done it a little bit different. They also might make a taller rally seat. I think that's an option for the CF Moto, which would probably improve it. But like I say, we'll have to reserve judgment until we actually get to ride one. Warming up to it yet, Tim? Come on, look at the taillights.
Better from this side.
It is good from this angle. The tank shape as well, beautiful. And also the dash looks really good. It's like a TFT dash with some little dials in there to keep it a little bit retro and analog looking. And I think that looks really, really good from this angle. I also like this little carrier on the back. So yeah, but as for the tech, 3 ABS modes. I assume that'll be kind of both on, both off, front wheel on, rear off, so you can get it absolutely set up to how you like to ride off-road. It does say as well it's got Bluetooth connectivity, so I assume that'll bring in notifications, navigation maybe, media playback, and also they're going to fit it with a USB port up in the cockpit. Not sure if USB-A or USB-C, but I doubt that would be a deal breaker for anybody. They don't say if it's got modes or traction control. I dare say traction control is probably not absolutely necessary on a 30 horsepower bike. But overall, it looks quite nicely spec'd, although it all really depends on the price, which we'll get onto in a moment. I will say they're a little bit on the styling. I do think there's a lot to like about it. That tall yellow windscreen gives it a bit of the rally aesthetic. I like the twin headlights up front as well. They're sort of asymmetrical, I think, a little bit GS-y maybe, or a retro interpretation of a GS. This looks brilliant. I hope they keep that for production. And so all round I think it looks very good. It's also got a paint job that's not dissimilar to their Scrambler, the 650, with a bit of yellow, a bit of silver, and I think that works very nicely in this style of bike as well. So overall I'd say the aesthetics are a strong point for me, a displeasure for Tim, but let us know where you guys stand down in the comments. Now, no price on this one as of yet. I'm also not quite convinced that this is the final production version, just because of that off-roady fuel filler, and there's no mirrors on it and there's no license plate, so maybe the exact spec is TBC. But I would still expect it to be very, very affordable with, for example, the Gold Star that we reviewed last year coming in cheaper than most of its competition. Same for the Bantam 350, that's $3,500 in the UK, which is just an absolute bargain. And so while I'd expect this to be a little more than something like the Bantam, I'd still think $4,500, under 5k maybe, would make for a brilliant little buy. And so hopefully they do keep it very affordable. As always though, we'd love to know what you think of it, so do let us know down in the comments below. I'll put our playlist of all of our other videos from this week on the screen now so you can keep up to date. Check out the code if you do want a Kawamoto discount. Hit subscribe if you want to see all the videos as soon as they come out, which I'm sure you do. A massive thanks for watching today, and we'll see you in the next video.